YouTube, what's up? Mace back with another video. So I know you guys can see from the title, it's about trend lines. So from me being in the market, I understand that a lot of people go wrong with trend lines, understanding how to use them, what they're really solely made for, and I also see people going wrong with zones, not knowing how to identify key areas in the market. So this video will be about trend lines, and I'll drop another video about zones. And then I guess another video on putting it all together. You know what I mean? But hope you guys like the video that I'm gonna give out. Hope you guys been liking the videos that I've been sharing. I just dropped the market forecast yesterday. So far, gold already played out perfectly. Um, but yeah, it's things like that, man. Like I just always want to share with you guys and just want the best for you guys. I feel God has blessed me with the knowledge to try to understand the market. So I just want to give it back to you guys as a thank you from God Himself. You know what I mean? But anyways, no further ado. Let's get into it. So I'm on a blank chart right now. This is gold at the moment on the 1 hour. So how we identify a trend line? We first have to understand what a trend line is. So a trend line is a line drawn over pivot areas, whereas pivot highs or pivot lows are under pivot highs, pivot lows to show the prevailing direction of price. So what does that mean? It means you have highs, then you always create lows. That's how the market moves, right? In phases, impulse, correction, continuation. So now, depending on the highs and the lows the market is making, you can now identify key areas that okay, price will usually touch a certain like price is going in a certain direction, whether it's a 80-degree angle, a 60-degree, 120-degree, like those type of things. Now, just because you have an uptrend doesn't mean that you could have a trend line. So, for example, I can use this same area. Okay, so we have an uptrend now, right? We see that we've made well, not an uptrend yet because we're still at these areas now. So we don't have an uptrend yet. So you can't draw a trend line on that. You understand? Some people try to draw a trend line on that, assuming that price is going to go higher. We don't know what price is going to do. We cannot predict. We only could assume. You know what I mean? Like we have to react to it. So we have. How could I explain it? Because I don't like to say we predict, but then say we predict. But more so, we analyze the market. We have our assumptions of it saying, okay, it's a bias that, okay, it's a possibility price could go higher, a possibility price could go lower. But we can't not predict because we don't know what the market's going to do. We have a system in place that we've back tested over a period of time to give us an edge over the market to say, okay, we've seen this type of thing happen every now and again. So it's a possibility the market can do X, Y, or Z, but never surety. So right now, we can't draw a trend line on this because this would be incorrect. Why? Once again, because these highs are the same, which means it's not making new highs. But if I were to go on a smaller time frame, I now can see that on my 15-minute, I have now a low here, which I could even consider this right now, a high. I have this low here, and I have this high, then I have this low here, I have this high, I have this low here. So I can now try to anticipate to see this could go higher, but I also have to understand that I have to now wait for this high to get broken in order for this to become a higher low. Because this is not considered a higher low as yet until this creates a higher high. So I hope that makes sense to you guys. So now what I can do, I can now draw a trend line in place for this. So you see I have my swing low point right there to my high, to my low, to another high. Didn't get to the low, went to higher highs. This low is still this low is still higher than this low. If we were to draw a line on this right now, you would see that this low is still lower. Let me draw horizontal instead. You can see that this low is still lower. It's a higher low because this is still higher than this low. This low is lower than this. So that would still be considered a higher low. Now you will try to anticipate for a higher high, if that makes sense to you guys. So now, since that's our picture, the way I like to draw my trend line, it's just like this, but a little bit different. So I go on my line chart and I try to identify swing high, swing low areas. So you see how it's like this. I would just pull this up a little more to here, make sure that is touching this area, and then I will pull this down just a little bit more, make sure everything is lined up, whereas the trend line isn't exactly inside of these lines, but close to these lines. And this is how it would be like this. So you notice some of this body was breaking out of it, but every time the body broke out, the bullish candle pushed back in it. Bullish bearish candle came out, bullish candle pushed back in it, which means this is still respect in this area. Price came with this bearish candle and wick at that, then came a bullish candle. So this shows that every time price comes in, price can push up, push up. So that's a way you identify a trend line. Now, some would tell you, oh well, can this be a trend line? But this, the thing with this trend line is this is too steep. So what I mean it's too steep. You would have the market would have to be making certain, like market wouldn't be moving like this. You understand? So the market is not moving backwards. The market is moving forward. So the market is moving forward. It has to be almost as if the market's going a different way. So the market's moving forward because it's making highs, making lows. So it has to be continuing moving this way. For steep trend line, it's like the market got to be like this now. It's like the market will be doing this, which the market won't move like that. It's almost like the market's going backwards, if it makes sense. So this would be incorrect. Another way to draw a trend line, I can identify some more for you guys. So this right now, you have this point to this point, and you bring that all the way down. And now you're going to identify these areas to see what happened. So the only thing you got out of this area right here was you had a break here, you had a pull back to the trend line, you had a drop, you had a buy back to the trend line, price dropped again, you had some consolidation that took place here, you had almost an equal low here, then you had a break of this trend line. After this break of the trend line, what did you have here? A retest of this trend line, but also at this one area that you could have taken advantage of for a buy. Now, with this buy, we would anticipate for price to go higher, but we always have to understand that we have key areas that price can respect. So right now, we know that this was a high, the price only came back to the side, right? Or you could also draw this within this zone area there like that, and price only came right back to that area. We also had the break and the retest of these areas here to make back price buy the way it bought. So we had the break of this trend line plus the break of this zone. Price started to buy up, but price, this would have been the first key area you would have anticipated for price to go to. Now, once price breaks this area, then you could anticipate it for price to pull back to at least retest these highs now that it broke. Then your next area would have been around here and so forth to up here. So that's how we anticipate market moves without trying to know as if we know exactly what's going to happen because we never know what's going to happen any given time. So once this trend line already played out, I'm not drawing this trend line any further anymore. I have now looked for a new trend line. It's already played out. And after this played out, it's supposed to go higher, not go lower. So I cannot have this as a trend line anymore. Now, some people would have it as a trend line, but it's not safe to have that as a trend line because now you're going against market structure, I would say. Another trend line would be this area right here. Same area right here would be a nice trend line. So I'll use this again. I'll go on this and I will just start to see where all my lines add up to. So I see this have a touch, 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 touch. Once I go on my line chart, I mean my candle chart, then I just fix it up a little bit more. So I have a touch there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now I had the break right there, but I didn't get a retest. Now, that's another thing I want to talk about. Is it safe to enter? Is it a good thing to go off a break and retest of trend line, or is it not? For me, I don't go off a break or retest of a trend line unless that break and retest of a trend line is, how can I explain it? If it's the same area as my zone that I'm looking for to retest. So like this same example right here, this was a break and a retest of a trend line. Also my zone was there, so this gave me confirmation that, okay, I could enter this market because why? Not because of the trend line, but because I had a zone that was respected. For me, a trend line, once again, in the example or the explanation or meaning of a trend line is a line drawn over pivot highs or pivot lows or under pivot lows to show the prevailing direction of price. So it's just to show the direction of price. You have to understand a trend line. So a trend line is what it says it is. It's a line that identifies a trend. So if I'm making higher highs, higher lows, higher highs, higher lows, I'm in an uptrend. So I now have a trend to identify and to give me clarity that I'm in an uptrend. Now, just because a trend line has been broken doesn't mean that, okay, my uptrend has been violated. It now means that it's a possibility that it can move in the opposite direction. Reason being is because, once again, we have this trend line that was broken, retested. Now, many people would have gone this straight to say, okay, I'm going in all up for buys, and then it would have been some nice profit. And then what happened afterwards? Price went lower. You understand? So, even though at one point it showed a change in direction, it wasn't a change in direction to say, okay, I'm going to start a whole new uptrend. I'm still in a downtrend. You understand? So, example like difference like this, we're in an uptrend on this. But when price broke this, we are now considered to be in a downtrend. Now, when it comes to break and retest of trend lines, I don't, like I said, I don't go off of break and retest because we have examples that a trend line can do this right now. So we have an impulse. Let's go. That impulse, a pullback. Hold on, give me 1 second. I don't know what's going on right now. Impulse, pullback, an impulse, pullback, impulse, pullback, an impulse, right? We have this, and we will have a perfect trend line. So with this perfect trend line, what can happen at times, and I see it so many times, you will have people tell you that, oh, the trend line broke and retest, so you should enter it for sell, right? Now, at times, it can happen like this. But there's also been times where price does this, and price continues to play around this trend line like this, and go back down, play around the trend line like that, and then sell. And then you'll have some mentors or some people like, oh, well, it hit the trend line, but have people confused that, okay, it hit my trend line once, but didn't sell. Twice, but didn't sell. But the third time, it sold. But most of their stop losses probably would have been around these highs. Why? Because they thought this first one would have been the trend line break and retest. They thought, okay, if we just want to retest this, almost make a double top before selling. So this probably is a safe stop loss still. The rest of realized price went all the way back up higher to retest. So I think there's an example on GU that I saw also with the same thing. Um, but that's something we'll be very careful of. So what I usually do when it comes to trend line breaks and retests, I look for my last low. So this would be considered my last low. So now what I want to do is see if price can pull back to this area. And I want price to pull back to this area before making new structure. So what do I mean by new structure? So although you see price broke this area here, let me make this a little thicker so you can see in a different color. Alright, so you see price broke this area here. Before it start making new structures and new lows, I see if price can pull back to this area. So right here you see price start to make the pullback, made a lower high, and then actually pushed up, but it pushed down actually, but whipped all of this. So this will be considered a new low because it never broke and closed. It showed that price wants to go lower. So that's what we have to understand about wicks as well. And what wicks mean. It means that price wants to go lower, that there were a lot of sellers trying to take over in the market, but the buyers still were in control. All this could be considered some kind of heavy news, which I think it could have been probably NFP or something that says Feb January 5th. So yeah, this could have been NFP 8. This is 8. Yep. So this was NFP that pushed the market down, then up to NFP. But what the price do? Price came back here and then sold. So this is what I talk about when you have a trend line break and now you have the retest to give you more confirmation that okay, a trade can be activated now. Let me see if I can find you some more trend lines. I'll make a video also about divergence, how to spot divergence, and how to trade divergence also. Okay, so something like this. Many will have this as a trend line. Many people have this as a trend line, but this wouldn't really be considered a trend line. Reason being is because this would be too steep for a trend line. This is too steep for a trend line, so that wouldn't be it. Another so trend line would look like, if I could find another one. Okay, right here. So this is a trend line right here. This is a clean trend line right here. And then you just go on your candles, and you notice, then you just adjust it a little bit more right there. So you have this point, price short up, made this point short up, made this point short up, almost made a new point, didn't. This was that big candle, came down, wick at it. So this is what I talk about right when I say you can get in sells or buys when it comes to trend line breaks and retests. So look how beautiful this was. This was your last, this was your lowest. Right now, price made this big push up. Price broke that, retested that, sold. And even though it came back up here, still respect this zone to give you some more push. So at this area, you possibly could have had a minor trend line. I don't want to press the 15 because I might come off this part. Could be a minor trend line around this area there. But this was another play right there. So we had impulse, pull back, impulse, pull back to the trend line, impulse, pull back, impulse, pull back, impulse, pull back. You had a huge impulse up there, pull back, broke the trend line, retested the trend line, but also retested the zone. We had sell off, came back to the trend line once more, well, zone once more, and then dropped. Beautiful. Um, let's look for a few more before I end the video. So the reason why I would have used this as a trend line, but I'd have been very cautious on how I used it. Even though it still played out, it wasn't it wasn't a trend line I would like use on a regular. It was pretty nice still. Watch your impulse, pull back, drop, touch on the trend line. So what, two touches right there. You want to drop. What the next touching was consolidation. So this was a nice trend line. Then many people also think that a trend line should start all the way from the swing low all the way up. Where sometimes a trend line could start with in the middle of a trend, in the middle of a trend. So for example, this right now would have been in the middle of a trade, in the middle of a trend, I should say. Notice I didn't put it all the way here, or anything like that. This is where I keep. So you just want to identify when the market starts the trend. That's all it is. When the market starts the trend, that is what you want to anticipate and look for. Whenever the market is starting to trend. So we have swing high, swing low, swing high, swing low, swing high, swing low. Didn't go high anymore. Broke it right there. Came back up and dropped. Now we have to identify what areas was broken, which was this area. So we have this area of support that should have become resistance. So price came back to retest these areas. Now the only thing is, depending on your stops, you could have got stopped out. So You watch a swing high around here. You watch a swing low right there. You watch the 50% that was touched right there. You watch the 88. Yep. So you would have probably got stopped out, unfortunately, because now you have all this. So it all depends. Like, so this was news as well. I wonder if this was the NFP or not. Because I thought the next one was NFP Friday. Oh, this November, so this could have been NFP that gave this big bullish candle. So it's very tricky. If you some people could have hold this because at times I remember because I know it's NFP, I usually would not have a stop loss depending on when my stop loss is and how I see the market going. I would leave the trade open and just see how the candle after NFP finishes closes. So this was the 8 o'clock candle, I believe. Yep, 8 o'clock candle. So I would have actually waited to see how the 9 o'clock candle forms, and then I would have come out of it. So if I saw the 9 o'clock candle start forming bullish as well, I would exit out of it. But you see how this just came there and started to come back down, close at this area with a wick at 8 and 9, then 9 candle came out, just started coming bearish. So that would give me some kind of indication, safety, um, some type of safe mindset to say, okay, I could potentially still try to stay in this trade for a while to see how it plays out. But then you would have a good 1 to 5% reward. But also because you see how far it went up afterwards, that's where you could have now adjusted your fib to here now. Now you have a 2 to 1 reward. But yeah, hope this video was informative to you guys. Hope you guys learned something. Like I said, I'll be dropping more videos. Next video will be on how to identify zone areas. Then we'll go over Fibonacci's, like RSI's. I'm here, guys. I'm here. We're gonna do this, guys. I guess 2024 is gonna be the year of just good things from our Lord God. You know what I mean? He's gonna provide for us. He's gonna bless us abundantly, and yeah, all praise go to Him. Amen. Hope you guys stay safe. Have a great trading week, like I said before. Let's get to it. Peace.